Good afternoon, everybody. We want to welcome everybody to another episode of the Authors Showcase, brought to you by brought to you by the National Black Unity newspaper. Y'all can see that there. My light is kind of glowing on it. And JNF Enterprises, where we bring you some of the I'm going to say the world's most authentic writers, some of the most authors that are just doing some phenomenal things in the writing sphere, in the writing world. And we want to thank you all for joining us. We want to thank y'all for being with us on this particular day. And this episode is going to be no different. We're actually on episode 85, y'all. I was looking at that today. So episode 85. So we're getting closer and closer to that 100 mark. So I'm looking forward to actually doing that. But just we're elated to be able to bring you some of just the great people that are just making an impact in the literary world, but then and just in the world in general. And y'all will see that with my guest that I have here for you all today. That is uh, Miss Wendy Savage, who is a phenomenal, or not just an author, but we're gonna talk about all the other stuff that she got going on too, y'all. And y'all will see what I'm talking about once we get into our conversation. So I want to introduce her to you, but then I'm gonna allow her to introduce herself and tell us just a little bit about who she is, what she does, and then we'll start to talk about her book that she has. We'll start to talk about all of the other things that she has going on as well too. So welcome y'all to the Author Showcase with your boy Dr. Leroy McKenzie Jr., the Impact Builder. And thank y'all for tuning in. Miss Savage, how are you today?
I'm doing phenomenal. How about yourself?
I'm doing phenomenal too. Is the weather nice down there today? Because it's a really nice
It's
day.
it's beautiful for a change. We had the storm come through. It didn't hit us,
Right.
thank God for that. But we had some cold weather. Now we're back to normal, like fall
I
weather,
know, right?
75, 80.
So everybody, did you all get hit uh in that area where you are down in because you're in South Carolina, right?
Yes. No, we didn't. We get spared, thank God. We
Okay.
had a little bit of wind, a little bit of rain, and it ventured off to Charleston, a little further down, a little further down.
Hmm.
But we
Hmm.
got spared, so I'm thankful for that.
Well, that's good. That's good. That's good. That's good to hear that you all were actually spared that storm. I know it's been quite a bit for the people down in Florida in that area down there. So we certainly want to send our prayers down to everybody down there, and hopefully they'll be able to get back to, like you were saying, some sense of normalcy as soon as possible and everything down there too. So.
Yeah.
Um, I'd like to start off. I want to have you introduce yourself. Just tell everybody just a little bit about who Miss Wendy Savage is, and a little bit of background information, if you can, about yourself.
Okay, let's see. I'm an author, a poet, a mental health advocate, a self-esteem and confidence coach when I'm going through domestic violence, and see also in I'm a veteran, U.S. United States veteran, and overcomer and woman of God.
Mm, mm. Overcomer. I like that. I like to hear that word. That means that people have gotten to what my mother calls the other side of through. Um, and I wholeheartedly like that. So we're gonna talk a little bit about that, as we go along in the conversation and everything. But I'd like to start our conversation by just asking you the simple question of how did you get started writing? What made you want to pick up the pen? And put pen to paper or put fingers to the computer nowadays.
Okay. In elementary school, my teacher had us write some poetry. I started
Oh wow.
elementary. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And I can't remember what it was about. I can't remember the poet itself. It was about slavery. But my aunt knows, Wen can write poetry. She put me in church contests, and I always won first prize, $30 and everything. I was so proud. And that's how I got started writing in elementary school.
Ooh, that's cool. And I've been writing poetry since I was in college. Um, and I started doing it just to get things out of my head, so to speak,
Mm.
and
Hmm.
then to just different things that I would see or things that I'd been experiencing and stuff like that, and didn't, it was just doing it for fun. And then, somebody put a bug in my ear about writing, a book of poetry. So
Oh, wow.
um yeah, yeah. And I've always loved poetry. And have always, that was where I started as well too, was in that, and then it
Mm.
blossomed into the other books that I've written. Now, once you what took you from writing the poetry into um to writing the book that you have out now?
Okay. My life has been sort of challenged. So I thought I wasn't really blessed. And I kept hearing the word in my spirit, go. And I kept hearing the word go. So I finally asked God, what does go mean? It is go and tell them what I've done for you. So I started writing, hop overcame certain things, and we'll talk about it later, I'm assuming. But it's been a phenomenal time just releasing it, getting it off my chest and helping somebody else along the way.
Wow. Wow. So, okay. So you started writing with poetry, and you come to now having the book that that you're writing now. If you had to describe your writing style, what would that style, what would be the word that you would use to describe it?
I would say relatable
Mm.
because I write about things that other people don't talk about. I'm kind of like transparent about it. And I did that on purpose. So 'cause I went through by myself without support and I felt alone. So I said, somebody can pick up my book and feel, hey, I'm not the only one going through this. And I'm not, and there's hope.
Hmm. Wow. Okay. 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 So, and I like that, and I think that a lot of authors and us as writers, I think hopefully that our ultimate goal is that people, the reader, will find something in our writings that they can relate to.
Yes.
I think that the more relatable it is to people, I think let's say the more engaged they become to it, because there's nothing like getting into a book. You mentioned this, and I think that is so true. A lot of people, when it comes to the nonfiction, and it's life, where you're trying to take people through something, that particular kind of journey, as your book is about, and we're going to be talking about that in a minute. When you're taking people through something like that, they a lot of people, and I don't know if this has happened to you, but people tend to think that they're the only ones going through something. So and I've had a couple of my clients, but even they've had people, once their book is out there, they said that they've had people come up to them and say that they thought that they were the only one that was going through what they were going through, and reading their book allowed them to see that there was someone else, or that there were others that were going through the same experiences that they had either gone through or that they were going through, and it helped them to be able to get through
Yes.
what it is that they were that they were going through. So I want you to, if you can talk about what made you want to write your book, which is entitled. Do you have your book there with you? I hope you have a copy of your book there with you.
I
Or you got
don't.
it. You got it close near you, that you can grab it.
I don't. Let
That's
me see.
okay. That's okay if you don't.
Okay.
Yeah, if you can grab it real quick, that's fine. That'd be fine too. Yeah. Oh yes.
Okay, I have a
Absolutely.
copy.
Yeah, cool. Cool. But what made you want to write what's in your purse?
Okay, as I said before, I'd gone through a series of things in my life that I felt like I wasn't blessed. And when God told me to go, I started releasing what I'd gone through in this book, which my history consists of mental illness, major depression, schizophrenia, abuse, sexual and mental, low self-esteem, low self-confidence, hatred, and unforgiveness. So through a period of, and I was a housewife. I'm divorced now. I was a housewife. And I was in the house a lot. So
Okay.
I used to kick being in the house. I gotta get out of here. I gotta get out of here. But the house turned to be my healing place.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're around other people, you really can't confront what's going on in you. You're too busy. You're too busy. You don't have time to pray. You have time to pray, but you have time. You can be closer when you're in solitude than you are among other people. So I wrote the book in hope. I wrote the book in hopes to help someone else feel like they're not the only one who's gone through what I've gone through, and that there is hope because I've been delivered from everything I just mentioned.
Wow. Now, can you tell us a little bit about the book? What the book is about? I know you talk and talk a little bit about the journey that, if you can, the journey that you take the reader on in your book.
Okay, I begin with being a young. I begin with it being in the military, and I got married because I was pregnant. And once I got back to the I got out of the United States. There was some warning sign I ignored in him, but I married him anyway because I didn't want to come home without a husband.
Hmm.
So I came home, back to the United States, and to come to find out he was mentally abusive. I moved to his home state. They were antisocial. I had no phone, no driver's license, no washing machine, no family, no friends, and no babysitter. And I'm having
Oh wow.
children back to back to back at 5. So my youngest child was 3 months old. I came home from vacation to my mom, and I look back at that situation. I said, oh no, I'm not going back to that. But then she and I had a negative relationship itself, so I went back to him 3 times, which okay, each time, all of my marriage I was depressed, of course. But then when I came home, I would like, snap out of it.
Hmm.
But then once upon a time, I came home, I could not snap out of it. I was like, I was in a stupor in the room, hoping somebody would notice me. And I was drinking Budweiser at the time, and I began to drink Budweiser, hoping I could keep myself happy, which that, of course, didn't last long. But then I began to, it went to a very scary, dark place, and I
Hmm.
couldn't snap out of it. And I began to think TV was talking directly to me, and I thought I could control other people's thoughts, and then it just kept getting worse. So anyway, make a long story shorter, this book is not. Make a long story shorter, I live in a rural place, and the mailbox is across the street. So I began fearing crossing the street. In fear, I walk out of oncoming traffic. And
Mm.
something inside of me said something isn't right. So I called the nearest coastal mental health, and they put me in the hospital for 3 months, telling me I was suicidal and say I had schizophrenia.
Mm.
That's that's just the first chapter of the book.
That's just the first chat. Oh wow. Wow. Uh, so okay, so you chronicle your life and the the different situations that
Mhm.
that you encountered, that you've gone through throughout your your experience and everything like that. What do you hope that the reader will come away with after they've read the book?
After they read the book, I hope somebody. I have several relatable topics like abuse,
Mm-hmm.
mental illness, hatred, unforgiveness, and somewhere someone who can relate to one somebody can relate to that. So how I got out of it really was, like I said, being in the house and dealing with myself and talking to God and asking Him to help me. That I got journal prompts in the Infinite Soul Search to say it wasn't in my. I share what's in my purse. But I have journal prompts. I ask them what's in their purse, like for them, the soul search, what's going on with them. So the whole concept is to have hope and some self-awareness at the end of the book, to become more aware of what's in your purse. I share what's in mine so you won't feel alone, but now what's in your purse?
Wow. Now, now, what did writing this book teach you about you?
It taught me that I could be brave. It taught me it was like a release to me to do it, or like a relief. You know,
Okay.
I got it out, and I was open, I was transparent, I didn't hide. So I felt like relieved.
And that's honestly that's what I've heard um those that I know that have written their stories before.
Hmm.
Um they kind of likened they it was part of their therapy, so to
Yes,
speak. Where like you said, it was a sense of relief. I've gotten this big burden that I've had that I've been carrying around um on me, off of me. And that I think that's something that I think is very relatable. You talked about readers being able to relate to that, those that have gone through though that kind of trauma. I believe you all, when you write your story, when you tell your story, you give people permission to go through theirs and to be able to see, like we said earlier, here's somebody else that has gone through what I thought I was the only one going through. Did you feel when you said you talked about being in the being in the house because you were a housewife and everything like that? At the time that you were going through that and you were in it, did you feel like you were the only one that was going through what you were going through?
yes, that's part of the reason why I wrote. That's another reason I wrote the book on the back end of that, because I feel like there's women who go through things. I went through. I healed in solitude. I went through without emotional support, and
Mhm.
there's somebody else out there who use the information and not feel alone.
Yeah, and that's the thing that hopefully and folks when they read this that they will understand, one, that they're not alone, but then two, that no matter the obstacles, you can overcome them. What did it teach? What did the writing? What's the difference between Wendy Savage before the book and Wendy Savage now after the book? What's the difference in that woman?
Okay, it's a two-part in there. I have two other books that are poetry books,
Hmm.
and through writing, I wrote for our local newspaper. I was taking care of my mom, which it's another chapter in the book. It wasn't a pleasant situation, but I wrote. I didn't have any outlet, so I wrote poetry as an outlet in the paper. And I wrote
Hmm.
about things like depression. And at first I didn't, thinking people say, "Oh, you were depressed," but something inside said, "Do it." Because somebody else in your position just don't know what to do, right?
Hmm.
So I wrote the book. I wrote the poetry. Wrote the poetry. And I'll see a psychiatrist every 3 months, and she was like, "Wendy, are you writing the poetry that the environment that you're in? You're not depressed." So she took me off the medication for depression. So through writing to help other people, God delivered me through my writing from major depression. I don't take medication for that anymore. So from writing this book, it just engaged me to really want to go out and help more, you know. So I'm a confidence and esteem coach for women who've gone through domestic violence. I'm a CEO and founder of Igniting Her Work LLC, And that is the most rewarding thing I think I've ever done, besides have children. Because it's really like, okay, I'm becoming the person that I needed going through, and I'm there for other people who need people like me.
Say that one more time for me.
I said I become the person I needed when I was going through. I had no emotional support. I
Wow.
become the person that I need going through, and so I'm giving what I've got to other people.
Wow. Talk about that for a second. How does that make you? Because I think a lot of times, and I think a lot of authors today that are writing their stories and telling their stories, they become, like you just said, the person that they needed when they were going through. How important is that to you to kind of give back to that, to that person that you might see that's going through what you went through?
It is one of the most rewarding, most of the greatest reward I've ever had, because I see myself, and that I able to go out and reach them and aid them into coming into back to themselves.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's very rewarding, very rewarding.
And I think so, yeah. And I can only imagine, now that you've gotten to the other side of where you are, and seeing a younger version of you, because and it may be someone that may be the same age as you, but to see a younger lady that may either be going through, or to keep them from going through what it is that you went through. I think I see that a lot of times, especially in this day and age, um, where I think we as a society, we're starting to give back to
Mm.
that next generation,
Hmm.
because that next generation needs us. And I know, from just the conversations that you've probably had, and you've talked about just how bad they need us, not just in from a guidance perspective, and even situational perspective, that things um, that you see that you've gone through, but seeing it kind of play out in them as well, and wanting to say, you don't have to necessarily go through this. There is someone out there that can assist you in not going through it, because hopefully, if you listen, you'll see the signs, and before you have to actually go through it, or even being in the midst of it, you see the signs and say, okay, how do I get out of it? Can you talk a little bit about that? How does and well, let me do this first. um what does the title, "What's in Your Purse" mean to you when you think about that title? How did you come up with the title first? I'm gonna ask you that, and then what does the title mean?
Because there's baggage that we hold on to that prevents us from being our best self.
Hmm.
And each chapter, I start off with bitterness, then I go to anger, just different topics. And
Okay.
what's in your purse? What's stopping you from being the best that you can be? What's holding you back?
Hmm.
So then I have, like I said, the journaling. I have wellness tips. I have journal prompt from the Soul Search. I have poetry, of course, scripture and prayer, everything like that, to like just get into a place of awareness and start to begin to heal from the topics that I'm discussing.
Wow. And I think that's key, especially when I think about the title, and I think about, um, like you say, what's in your purse, about the baggage that we do carry around, um, for people. And can you talk about, first of all, I want you to talk about how to let the baggage go. And this may be incorporated in this, in what I'm getting ready to ask. What are the 3 steps to getting your wellness in order? I don't know if they may kind of cross and cross each other, but
Okay.
what do you think are the
Say the
3 steps? Yeah.
Okay. I would say the first thing would be acknowledgement and awareness. You have to acknowledge and be aware of your behavior.
Okay. Okay.
You have to say, okay, you know, you have to be aware that you're bitter. You have to be aware that you're angry. You have to be aware that you're depressed. And that's only you can actually start to change things if you acknowledge them. The next thing is being dedicated because sometimes change is difficult and folks don't want to go through the process of change because it's too hard. You have to be dedicated to what you're doing and you have to have faith in God to ask Him to help you do what you're doing. Because those are the three, I think those are the three main things. Because sometimes what we go through is beyond us. We think we got it going on, we can handle it, but we really can't.
Right. Exactly. 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 So what was it? What was the third one? What you said? Acknowledge, dedication,
and
and what was it? You said faith.
and faith in God to ask, and to just at least go to Him, because so even daily right now, if we're honest with ourselves, let's say we always need to change and growing. But sometimes those things are like deep rooted. Sometimes you have to be aware of yourself. You have to be disciplined enough to say, okay, I'm devoted and dedicated. I want to change this. And sometimes it's bigger than you. Trust, have to ask God to help you with it. And maybe He'll put something in your path along the way to cause you to see yourself, or you change from whatever, however He does His work in you. But I think those are the three fundamental, three keys.
Yeah, and those are, I think those are three great steps that that you can take. First, like you said, you do have to acknowledge it, because I think if we ignore it, then or don't want to acknowledge it, I think that becomes a problem, because or you think that you don't have a problem. So you can't help anyone solve a problem that they don't believe that they have. So you do have to be aware and say, yes, this is something that admit it. Say if I'm in the middle of something, as I remember this preacher one time, he was talking about, I forgot the title of the sermon, but he was talking about David and Bathsheba, and he was talking about David, after he had Bathsheba's husband killed and everything like that, and he created this whole mess. And he was talking about, coming to, you talked about faith, but going to God and said, Lord, it's a mess. What I'm in is a mess, and I need you to help me clean it up. I want to clean it up. I've got to clean it up, and I can't move forward without you. We have to first acknowledge that there is a problem, and then, like you said, you got to be dedicated, because it's never easy when it comes to us trying to get through something, or even achieving something, whatever it is that we're trying to achieve, even if it's coming out of something, achieving that goal or that assignment of moving out, it does take dedication, because there are going to be days that you are frustrated, or that you may feel disappointed, or you may feel like this isn't working. Is it ever going to end? Sometimes it may even seem, and I don't know if you felt like this when you were going through it, where you take two
Mhm.
steps forward, and you get knocked back three, four steps. That type of thing. And that becomes the part where you have to be dedicated to what it is that you want to achieve, and where it is that you want to go, especially coming through the situations that you said that you went through. Was there ever a time that you felt like you weren't dedicated to what you were trying to achieve and come out? And then what did you do in order to be able to keep and move forward?
Yes. As I said, I came home to my mom from my marriage. We had a very, very negative relationship since childhood. And in fact, I hated her.
Mm,
So I came back to her in hopes that, well, I came back to her, and instead of me getting the support I needed, I came back to abuse.
mhm, Mm.
So making a long story short, she passed away before I could forgive her.
Okay. Okay.
And so that was like a process of, and I tried. I was her caregiver for like 5, 6 years, and I would forgive her one day, and the next day she'd do something totally different, and I go back into unforgiveness, which wasn't so it was toxic, very toxic.
Mm.
So finally, after she passed away, I wrote her a letter, but that didn't work either. So I started asking, I asked God, help me to forgive her. So listen, he started showing me, he laid on my heart to feel compassion for her because she didn't come from a easy life herself. So I started feeling compassion, and before I knew it, I could talk about her without being angry. I
Mm.
could talk about her without we don't forget what happens to us. We're not elephants. But when you
Right.
actually forgive, you can recall the incident without the negative emotions. And that's what I did.
Mm. Mm. And that's powerful, and I think that's how you know that you've gotten to the place of healing when you can think about the individual, someone who's done you wrong and they mistreated you and everything like that, and you don't harbor that anger anymore or that resentment anymore in there. You can think about them without being feeling hurt anymore. And I think that's one of the things that a lot of people, like you said, that's part of that part of that baggage,
Hmm.
and not being able to let those things go. Because I tell people this all the time. I said the healing isn't for the other person. Forgiveness. I'm sorry, forgiveness isn't for the other person. The forgiveness is for you, so that you can move
Right.
forward. Because that person more than likely is already moved on.
Happy and free.
Yeah, they did not already. They ain't even thinking about it, worrying about it, and you having these restless nights, and you can't eat, you're not sleeping, and all of those things, and everything like that. And that's, to me, that's what the forgiveness is for, so that you can move forward. Because the other person more than likely has moved forward. What would you say? What would you say to the younger version of you? Let's say, talk to that 25-year-old, that 20-year-old girl, that 30-year-old girl that may be experiencing what you experienced, or getting ready to go into what you experienced. What would you say to her? What would you say? What would you tell her?
Okay, I stayed in a marriage that was abusive because I felt my family would think he was the good person and I wasn't. So the key thing I would say is stop worrying about other people think. Number one. Number two, number two. Let me think. What would I say to my younger self? Oh, get the help you don't be afraid to speak out. Get the help that you need for yourself. Which I did that. But get the help you need for yourself. Believe in yourself. I was taught not to believe in myself. My mother, she tattered my self-esteem and self-confidence all through my life. So my thing is I have to overcome. I did overcome that. But
Mhm.
initially I was like, thinking I couldn't do things. I was a failure, this, that, and third. So the key thing is to believe in myself. You can. What's stopping you? You.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sometimes we have to get out of our own way, so to speak. I've heard this. We have to get out of our own. We have to get out of our own way, because we're the only ones that's keeping us from moving forward. What was the most difficult part about writing this book for you?
Believe it or not, it wasn't difficult. It came out like
Okay, did it? Okay, okay, okay.
I, I kept I came up with the title, and then I came up with the topics, and then I just started writing. It took
Mm,
me a little while to get through. I would stop a piece, but I didn't finish in 3 months. It took me like maybe
mm,
7 months, maybe. But I had so much inside me, it had to come out.
Hmm. 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 And that's the thing about us as writers. Sometimes it does, like you were saying, it flows, and it's just, it's like a river. It's just it keep on, it keeps on coming. And I think when we as writers get into that groove, we have that kind of fluidity. um I've always said this, that uh done is better than perfect.
Right.
And what that is get it out of you, get that out of you, and then you can deal with all of the other, the corrections and the editing. That's what the editing is for. But the main thing is getting the story out, getting it, from here in your mind, onto, onto your computer or onto your paper, so that you can deal with what you need to deal with. You can move stuff around. You can, you can go back and rewrite stuff and everything and everything like that. But the main thing, is getting it out of you. And to me, especially when you're talking about something, as serious, as traumatic as what you went through, and you've said it a couple times. It was just about, whew, it was a relief to get it out of you. Because we hold, to so many of us just hold stuff in so many times, so much, and we don't understand just how toxic that is,
Mm.
you know, to us. And I always talk about it in terms of, in the our let's say, but if, imagine your body, our body. Well, I'll put it like this: our body has to release
Mm.
itself, whatever it is. It has to release itself. That's the way God. That's the way He designed us, to be able to release ourselves, whether it's in the physical sense, and having to go to the bathroom, or even in a energy toxic sense, whether it's
Mm.
grieving somebody, whether it's going through that process, even being happy. We have to let that out. If we keep that inside of us, that will it'll keep us,
Big.
it'll destroy us from the inside out. I'll put it that way. From
Mm.
the inside out, it'll destroy us it'll eat us away from the inside out. And it'll mesh it. That's why you say, when you talked about being in that state of depression, and I've heard people say, when they've experienced that, because I've talked to a couple people that they suffer from depression. They say it's being in that mindset. They couldn't get out. It wasn't like they wanted to stay. It was like they didn't see a way out. They didn't see a way out in being able to do it. And I guess you all get your bouts with that, and whether it's through medication or other means, and your means was writing, to be able to deal with that, and to be able to come out of it by doing the poetry, because that gave you some relief, that gave you some release. And we have to find what it is that our release is,
Mm.
especially when it comes to dealing with domestic violence, when it comes to getting our mental health and our mental wellness, um and everything like that. Can you talk? I want you to talk about, if you can, talk about your igniting her worth company, your organization, your company. Can you tell us a little bit about that too?
Yes, I am the CEO and founder of Igniting Her Worth LLC, and I am a self-confidence and esteem coach for women who've gone through domestic violence. I talk to women from the age of, well, they're not, I haven't got the 19 yet, but 19 to 56, and I do a lot of listening. Can't go into that too much, but the point is, I try to get them not to see themselves. Their inner dialogue counts too. We get dressed up, we play the part, we have titles and roles, but inside, some of us, especially being domestic, you have this negative self-talk.
Mm,
But the goal is to move them from the negative self-talk to see themselves as they truly are, and as God created them, who has God created them to be, not the negative image that this person has groomed you to be through abuse, or you groom just the opposite of what you're thinking. So I have a series. I do it like that.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Yeah, and how, yeah, and I think that that's so important that organizations such as yours exist today, um, just because of all of the trauma that that we know that exists out here, and people feel as if, and specifically women feel as if they don't have a an outlet to be able to get to, like you talked about before, having something that you didn't necessarily have when you were going through what you were going through, or having it readily available, for for women, and for men that may be going through these situations and everything like that. So the more that you talk about it, the more that people will know that it's out there,
Mm,
um, and be able to understand, wow, there is help for me. There is um, there is an organization that can assist me to be able to walk through this, that can walk me through dealing with it, and they have an understanding because they've gone through, you've gone through it specifically, have gone through it. So there's that part that 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 you can relate to them, and then they can feel confident and comfortable enough to say, wow, she went through it, so I know she knows how I feel,
mm,
and going through that.
mm.
um so is there what's next for you? Is there anything that you're working on now, or anything that your organization is doing right now that you got coming up that you want to let people know about?
Well, not for the end of this year. Going to the next year. I want to do a women's magazine the end of next year.
Really?
I
Okay.
I, I host an annual event called the Authors Expo. I hold it every year, and I get people from my county and surrounding counties do a big book signing and greet the community and things like that. And I'm gonna get my granddaughter published.
Oh, cool, cool,
Yeah,
cool.
she's 9, but she's pretty swift, and she
Oh, that's
has a
awesome.
couple of books I see in her. I'm gonna get at least one of them published next year.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Now, does your organization, the Igniting Her Worth LLC, do you all work with, in conjunction with other, let's say, other organizations or individuals that kind of assist with dealing with domestic violence or deal with health and wellness?
Not yet. Well, it's kind of. I met a lady on like about a month ago, and they deal with trauma victims, and she sort of like gave me some referral, give me a referral.
Okay.
So we work together through that referral. Like she works with her on one end, and I work with her on the other end.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. Okay. Now, how can people connect with you? How can they purchase how can they purchase the book from you?
Okay, my name is spelled a little different, so you can go to Amazon and type in Wendye Savage, and my book will pop up. Or if you're going to get in contact with me, you can contact me at savagewendy@gmail.com, or you can reach me at 843-888-2505.
I love it. I love it. I love it. See, this is why we do what we do here at the Author Showcase, bringing you individuals such as Miss Wendy Savage that are impacting people's lives just through their life. And as I was talking to her and telling her that the author showcase, we hopefully we give you more than just about the book, because it's more than just about the books that the authors come on and discuss. So hopefully y'all see that, y'all can feel that energy that we try to bring you with the authors that we have, because they have not only powerful books, but are doing powerful things for people. And y'all know, anybody that's known me for any length of time, y'all know my mission, my purpose is to make people better by the end of the year than they were at the beginning of the year. And the way we
Mm,
do that, the way I do that, is by bringing you folks in the author showcase, bringing you people like Miss Wendy Savage who are impacting people's lives every single day. They make people's lives better every single day by assisting them to be able to go through and walk through their journeys, whether it's through their book, them reading their book, or whether it's her speaking engagements, or even whether it's her individual clients that she has. To me, there's no greater feeling than seeing somebody who has gone through what Miss Savage has gone through, and then is on the other side of that. That is on, as my mother says, on the other side of through. That other side of through is a powerful thing. You know, everything we want is on the other side of fear.
Mm.
So we have to, and fear, you know how people say fear stands for false evidence appearing real. Well, that's not my definition of fear. I say you face your fear by facing every assignment relentlessly. Whatever
Mm.
that assignment is, facing it relentlessly, going at it with a reckless abandonment, whether it's domestic violence, whether it's getting, a health, mental health wellness, whether it's being, being an entrepreneur and running a business, but you face the assignment relentlessly. You go after it, and having that understanding that if I face it, on the other side of it is that smile that you see on Miss Savage's face. You can have that smile that's there for you, because it's there. It's there, but we've got to be dedicated, as she said. You got to acknowledge it, but you got to be dedicated to get through it. And then, of course, the only way to get through it, but this is the way that she talked, and I'm going to talk too, is by having faith. You've got to have faith developed and believe in you, and believe that you're going to see yourself on the other side of it, and you can get through. So, Miss Savage, if you can give your contact information one more time, and then we'll close out, okay?
Okay, let's see. My book is available on Amazon, and my name is spelled Wendye, Savage. You can contact me at savagewendy@gmail.com, or you can call me at 843-888-2505, and I'll be glad to hear from you.
Absolutely. So we want y'all to go out and pick up Miss Savage's book. My head is in the way. I don't know which way to duck. You can see it right there. The title of the book. You can go and grab your copy of it. And while you're at it, you can get. She's in the current issue of the National Black Unity News. This isn't the cover, the current issue, but this is the issue. This is the National Black Unity News newspaper. The author showcase. You can go to www.tnbun.com. You can subscribe. Want you to subscribe to the newspaper. You can get it delivered right to your door as well. But then also check out our other author showcase on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, the National Black Unity News YouTube channel. You can see all of our past episodes. Like I said, we got 85 of them, y'all. So it's a whole lot of episodes that y'all can go and check out. You can listen to these great. They're more than just authors. They're more than just authors, but hear their stories, hear about their writing journey, but also hear about the other great and phenomenal things that they're doing out here in the community, for the community, and about the community. It's your boy, Dr. Leroy McKenzie Jr. We thank y'all for tuning in to another episode of the Author Showcase, and we'll talk to you all soon.
Mm.